On the frontier world of Larkspur 9, life was quiet by design. I'd chosen a small settlement, a modest metal house overlooking amber plains, and a job repairing atmospheric scrubbers. No medals on the wall, no reminders of my years in the Terran Expeditionary Corps. Just routine, dust, and silence. That's why the knock startled me. It wasn't the casual rap of a neighbor or a delivery drone's polite chime. It was deliberate, measured, almost ceremonial. I frowned, wiped grease from my hands, and opened the door. 6 armored figures stood outside, tall and elegant, their bodies wrapped in iridescent plating that shifted colors like oil on water. Alien soldiers. Each bore a spear-shaped rifle, its power core humming softly. In their center stood a woman cloaked in deep violet fabric, her posture straight, her presence heavy enough to bend the air. My first instinct was to reach for a weapon I no longer carried. Her eyes found mine, and everything else faded. They were silver, just as I remembered. "Hello, Daniel Mercer," she said, her voice calm, resonant, and unmistakably familiar. "It has been many cycles." I swallowed. Do I know you?" Her lips curved into a small, sad smile. "Once, you pulled me from a burning wreck and carried me across a battlefield. You called me kid and told me to keep my eyes closed." The memory crashed into me like a tidal wave. The crash site. The alien scout vessel torn apart during a skirmish between rival factions. The child trapped inside, blue blood, fractured limbs, terrified eyes. I hadn't known her species. I hadn't known if she was important. I only knew she was alive. "I remember," I whispered. "You were hurt bad. I left you with your people." "You saved my life," she said softly. "And my soul." I stepped back in disbelief. "Your royalty?" "I am Queen Sailira of the Veridian Concord," she replied. "And I have come across half the galaxy to find you." Years ago, after delivering her to a Veridian medical convoy, I'd assumed that was the end of it. Another life intersecting briefly with mine before vanishing into the chaos of space. Humans did that a lot, passed through storms and moved on. But apparently, storms remembered us. Inside, we sat at my small kitchen table. The armored guards remained outside, motionless as statues. Sailira removed her cloak, revealing ceremonial markings along her arms, symbols of authority, lineage, and duty. "When my mother fell," she explained, "our empire fractured. The high houses sought to rule through fear. I was young, injured, and weak in their eyes." "So, how did you become queen?" I asked. She met my gaze. "Because of you." I blinked. "I just carried you out." "You did more," she said. "You spoke to me while explosions fell around us. You told me humans survive not because they are strongest, but because they refuse to abandon one another. That mercy is not weakness." She leaned forward. I remembered those words when I was imprisoned, when I was challenged, when I stood alone before war councils twice my age. I didn't know what to say. "My people believe humans are volatile," she continued, "capable of destruction beyond reason. But I knew differently. I had seen a human risk everything for a stranger child." Her voice hardened. "And now that belief is being tested." She explained the crisis then, a coalition forming against the Concord, preparing to crush her world before her reign fully stabilized. They underestimated humans, but feared them too much to invite openly. "I need an ambassador," she said. "Someone the Concord will trust. Someone I trust." I laughed bitterly. "I'm a mechanic. A retired nobody." "You are a human who chose compassion in war," Sailira replied. "That makes you extraordinary." The offer terrified me. But what terrified me more was the idea of turning away again, leaving a young girl to face a galaxy that wanted to break her. So I said yes. The months that followed reshaped history. Human advisors brought logistics, disaster relief strategies, and most importantly, diplomacy backed by resolve. When negotiations failed, humanity's fleets didn't posture. They arrived quietly, efficiently, and stayed. The coalition dissolved without a single shot fired. SavedAGirlSheIsAQueen ruled not as a conqueror, but as a stabilizer. Trade routes reopened. Old enemies became cautious partners. And everywhere we went, she introduced me not as a hero, but as the human who reminded me who I was. On the night of the Concorde's renewal ceremony, she stood beside me on a balcony overlooking a city of living light. "Why did you really come for me?" I asked quietly. She turned, silver eyes reflecting the stars. Because debts matter. Because kindness echoes. And because humanity deserves to know that when it chooses mercy, empires are born. She paused, then added softly, "And because the girl you saved never forgot the man who knocked down her fear with a single act." I thought of my quiet house on Larkspur, 9, of the life I'd abandoned and the one I'd never imagined. History hadn't knocked on my door by accident. It had come to remind me of what humans do best. We save one life at a time. And sometimes that life grows up to change the galaxy. They spoke of a moment when the queen of an ancient alien empire crossed the stars, not with an army, but with gratitude, and knocked on the door of a forgotten soldier on a quiet frontier world. Under Queen SavedAGirlSheIsAQueen's reign, the Concorde became something rare in the galaxy, a power built on restraint rather than fear. Human and Veridian academies exchanged students. Joint rescue fleets were formed to respond to disasters across neutral space. Where once there had been borders bristling with weapons, there were now corridors of aid and trade. And whenever diplomats asked SavedAGirlSheIsAQueen why she trusted humans so deeply, she told them the same story. She told them about a battlefield burning under alien suns, about a frightened girl trapped in wreckage, about a human who should have run, but didn't, a human who carried her with shaking arms and spoke calmly while the sky fell apart. "He did not know who I was," she would say. "He only knew that I was alive." As for me, I never returned to Larkspur, 9. Not because I couldn't, but because I finally understood something humanity often forgets. We don't shape the future with grand speeches or flawless plans. We shape it in moments no one is watching. In choosing to help instead of turn away. In seeing a stranger as worth saving. In believing that mercy can outlive war. I had saved one frightened child years ago. And in return, that child grew into a queen who reshaped an empire and ensured that humanity would never stand alone among the stars again. That is what it means to be human. We don't conquer the galaxy. We change it one life at a time.